While you guys are here.
So Sam, all you got to do, or Andrew has to do, is just hit got it.
Yep.
On your screen.
Got it. Yep.
You got it.
Okay, good.
Hey, Jerry, you know what's really cool? We all have on glasses.
Only because you want to see.
Gene, we're all vertical. That's even better.
Hey, I got a 3-year plan, Gene. I get up in the morning, I adjust the plan.
So I don't think people realize how much history from a sneaker perspective is in this room. Obviously, this is our first episode of Got Sauce. I'll go on explaining what Got Sauce is about, but this is like a revolutionary time as well as conversation. You have Gene Smith, who played on the '84 national championship team, who's my co-host. And, you know, Georgetown was responsible really for sort of setting the tone as it relates to Nike and, you know, them being this rebellious brand and integrating into what we call the hood, so to speak. And then we have the notorious Sam Siegel, over 40 years at Nike, built Nike New York as well as influence from a global perspective, managed Foot Locker and, you know, keeping all of the New York retailers in check, which is, it's enough in itself, but we're gonna tap into his unlimited sort of experience, background, and stories and philosophy and getting after things, and we'll get into what sauce is. And then we have Jerry Alloco, one of his byproducts and my former partner in crime as it relates to Nike Sportswear. And you know, when I think of this episode and I think of how these two fellas influenced me as it relates to the sneaker game, the thing I think of is accountability. You know, getting the job done, doing what you got to do, and there's no excuses. And you know, I'm sure through the stories and our questioning and all of these sort of dynamics, it will come out. But our show is focused on the young professional that's looking to, you know, understand the sauce of those that are successful. The current professional is looking to advance their game, and those that are interested in forward culture, you know, forward brands and forward individuals that have made impact in different industries. This industry is, you know, dear to our hearts from a sneaker perspective. We're hoping to tap into that. Sam and Jerry have never been interviewed before, and you know, I cherish this as an opportunity to be able to do it, as well as it's a crime just based on the hidden but major impact they've had on the sneaker game, and you would never know it.
What's interesting? What's interesting, Drew, at Sam's 80th birthday at the New York headquarters, you know, they had such a wonderful event for Sam. Totally took him by surprise, but they had a few people speak, and I was fortunately one of the ones that spoke. And my last line was, "Thanks, Sam, for allowing me to ride shotgun for 37 years with you."
But he had the gun.
Oh, dude, I was just, you know.
You were polishing bullets.
Yes.
Polishing bullets. So let me explain kind of how the show is going to work. This show came about, you know, there's a viral online called Juice versus Sauce. And Juice is temporary. Juice is bot. Juice is Grant Hill versus Jordan. Juice is Popeye's chicken sandwich versus Chick-fil-A. You know, they may have a hit. You know, they may come in, and we're finding that Netflix is even Juice to, so to speak. They may have a period of time, but it comes and goes, much like juice itself that you drink. It's consumed. But sauce, it's sticky. It sticks. It comes from purpose. It comes from inside. And a lot of brands are driven, and that's why you can see the difference. A lot of individuals, particularly these two individuals, are driven. The thing that I love about Sam and Jerry, they have nothing to do with sneaker or hip hop culture, but they are the forefront of sort of making this happen on a number of levels. You know, many people associate them during our time period, but these guys were in the industry way before me. These guys built Foot Locker at the highest level and battled with those guys, told them no, and, you know, really restricted. But the most important thing I would say is they were in the #1 sneaker market in the world, New York City, undoubtedly. Before the internet, that New York City set the foundation. I'm an LA guy. We rock kicks, but cars served as more of our culture. But from a New York perspective, they built this industry. They are the godfathers of this industry. And it relates to Sam Siegel. The best way to think about it, he is the Nick Saban of the sneaker industry. Bottom line, in the number one market, much like Alabama being the number one team, highest expectations, the most grimy, dirty, but savvy retailers, and he had them in check. Everybody feared Sam, but just as much, if you get to know Sam, a lot comes from the heart. But if you get on his other side, he will cut your heart and have you eat it, dog. Scramble it however you want it. It works sort of both ways. He's no punk as related to this, but he had to conduct himself that way. And obviously with HR and way things are run now, that isn't legal. But in the early days of the sneaker industry, the early days of New York, you had to have that. There was no way, people would take advantage of you. And I tell you this, Sam Siegel is no one taking advantage of. As it relates to Jerry, as it relates to sportswear, I get a lot of credit for it, but Jerry swung across this as related to before I got there, after I got there, and served as a mentor to many of those that replaced me in that coveted PLM position of limited edition, which is Nike Sportswear now. So, although I get a lot of the forefront credit because I bridged the culture, these cats taught me the business. These cats know the sneaker business, but they just know business. It just happens to be that they were on the sneaker side of it and manage it and led it the right way. So we're going to sort of kick this off. Gene, do you have any sort of things? And I'm ready to jump into questioning with these two sort of hidden pioneers.
So I appreciate you asking me if I had anything, because, I was getting ready to say the three of us can basically check out and you can do the rest of the show by yourself. You're supposed to go back and forth. Like, give me one of the guys. You don't have to take both of them.
Hey, I'm new to this.
Podcast expert. I'm gonna put you on pause. I wish I could put you on pause. So what I'm going to share is a different point of view of Jerry and Sam, and this is where Drew and I really connect, because he has one point of view and I have another point of view, but we're trying to get to the same place. And a lot of people that you do business with, you have to agree with everything they say. And that's difficult for me because I'm looking for the optimal situation. I'm looking to get there. I don't care who takes the credit. I just want to get there. So everything that Drew said was facts, but I'm looking at it from a completely different point of view. And for me, Jerry and Sam represent everything about hip hop. They represent everything about culture. They were the renegades within that behemoth, within that monster called Nike. And, I don't want to be too long-winded because I really want to get, this is about you two. But I just wanted to say a couple of things. For me, Jerry, the fact that you were, this surfer, this skateboard, this eclectic cat who, was knee deep in the wire. You were knee deep in what moved the culture, but you were unassuming. There's this saying, bad boys move in silence. You two were stealth. You moved quietly until the business changed, when you could no longer do the things you did to become successful. You had to, and that's all about things evolving. So for me, I loved how you carried, and you also carried a bag. That meant something to a guy like me. You carried the bag, you put in the work so I can listen to you. And then, you're just an analytical beast. Mr. Siegel, I don't say this lightly. We didn't share, it was all indirect. I mean, I was at Nike for 22 years. You were there for 40. I was there for half of your tenure. So whether or not I dealt with you directly, indirectly, you had such an impression. You made such an impact on that company and me specifically. And you reminded me of the gentleman that I played for 4 years. In that, no nonsense. I'm focused. I deliver. I expect high standards. And that's culture, right? that's something you can count on. And season in and season out, you might have been a lone voice in the room, but you stood tall. And, for a guy like me who, working at Nike, I started Nike in '86, and I had no real clear agenda, any real clear path. The academic coordinator at Georgetown told me about a job at Nike and told me to go check it out. And next thing I know, I was on 2 different planes with 1 set of underwear, talking to Nelson Ferris or somebody, I don't know who I was talking to. And then fast forward 22 years later, but I just want to say, you move stealthily. I almost like the fact that you've never been interviewed, because it's your industry secret, and some things it'll come to light when it comes to light. But the fact that you two are here means the world to me, and I wouldn't have missed this opportunity for anything. So I want to thank you guys.
The reason that we didn't have our we're running it. We just did our job, and all the people we work with, they respected us, we respected them, we worked together. It was great teams. We used to have a good time. So whenever we went, we traveled all over the country with a lot of people, and some are still around and some aren't, but basically it was an opportunity that nobody could believe, and we enjoyed it. So we weren't looking to take the credit, because a lot of the other people did the work, and we felt they should take the credit. So we weren't there for credit. We were there to doing the right thing for everybody.
And Gene and Drew, Sam and I had tremendous respect for the culture. We didn't look at people based on the melatonin in their skin. We really looked at people for, who they are, and the fact that there was so much love for the brand, and in particular, certain styles like the Air Force and the Max 95. The fact that Sam and I could work with somebody like you, Drew, who was a cultural connector for the brand, the first one. I mean, there were other product line managers that did the renditions of limited edition before you. Thinking of Chris Lindgren with Sports Classics. Actually, the first PLM of Sports Classic was a rep, as Gene knows, Jeff Tapkus. He did that for 6 years, just sending in insights from Harold.
Out of Baltimore, we must claim that, out of Baltimore.
Yes, yeah, the 3 amigos out of Baltimore, Harold Rudo, Paul Blinken, and Tony Tranis. And the insights then led to having that position be a training ground for inline categories. And the first person they hired inline was Chris Lindgren, and then after that it was Fritz Taylor, and then Bill Reen, and then you took the category.
Brian Clare. Don't forget Brian Clare.
Oh, Brian Clare, that's right.
Can't forget Coach.
The 3-month cup of coffee he had doing Sports Classics. That's right. And but when you came in, you had the insights from the bottoms up, I would say, from the street up. And limited edition, Sports Classics, and now sportswear was never the same, because you brought the insights of the consumer. Guys went out to, certainly the Rucker and West 4th Street to get insights, which was great. But you brought a cultural perspective that the brand hadn't known, and was better off for you being in that position as you left that Eakin position in LA to come into product.
It was nice us blending sort of the chocolate with the peanut butter. Me learning the business in New York City, being an LA guy, but being hungry for, curious for culture. And I think that's the trait you have, Jerry. You have a passion and love for other people's passion, and sneakers happen to be it. And then being able to feed that is unbelievable. So the theme of the show is sauce. And I don't know if you guys know, but sauciers or soft chefs, that's the highest rated position in the kitchen.